What we have done till now is theory of columns. So in theory of columns, what we are doing is we have four basic types of columns. So let me divide the screen into four parts. So the first is both ends hinged. So this is a column. This is the load. This is the buckling. We have one end fixed. Obviously, the other one is free. So you have this as your column and this as your compressive load and this as your buckling pattern. One end fixed, other hinged. This one is both end fixed. Let us go in order. Both ends fixed and you have an axial compressive load and this is the buckling pattern. And the last one is one end fixed, fixed, one end fixed, other hinged. So this is your column. You have an axially compressive load here. And this is your buckling pattern. So if you look at the equations, so what we had done is we had taken EI d2y is equal to m. We had formulated the equation for m. And depending upon the equation for m, we had written certain, you can say, the solution of the differential equation, and depending upon the boundary conditions available to us, we have uh, put down the various conditions for it. So if you look at this scene, or this scenario here, what you can say that the general equation was d2y by dx2 plus py is equal to, sorry, py by ei is equal to 0, and the general solution that you got was y is equal to c1 cos x under root p by ei plus c2 sine x under root p by ei. If you look at this end, you had d2y by dx2 plus p by ei into y is equal to m naught by ei. If you look at the solution, you have got y is equal to c1 cos x under root p by ei plus c2 sine x under root p by ei plus m naught by p. Okay, coming to the third one, the general equation, sorry. one end fixed and the other free. So here the equation was d2y by dx2 plus p upon ei into y is equal to p upon ei into a. And this quantity was quantified as a. The solution was y is equal to c1 cos x under root p by ei plus c2 sin x under root p by ei plus a. And if you look at the fourth case, the equation was y is equal to, sorry, not y, d2y by dx2 plus p by ei into y is equal to h into L minus x, where h was the imaginary force that you had applied here. And the solution came out to be this divided by ei. So the final solution came out to be c1 y is equal to c1 cos x under root p by ei plus c2 sin x under root p by ei plus h by p L minus x. So these are the four columns. These are the four, depending upon the type of supports, and you have formulated the equation. This is the equation and this is the solution of the equation. If you look at these all four equations, what you can say that this term y is equal to, look, if you look at the formation of the equation, this term is always there. This will remain. This does not change. Only the term after the equal to sign or the right hand side of the equation will change. So this you have to, either you can remember or you can understand. If you remember the sign conventions, if you remember everything, it is well and good. Okay, the problem is you need to understand everything before applying. So here this term is only going to change, and depending upon this term you have a change in the equation. So if you look at the solution of the equation, this uh, this will remain always. This is there in all the four cases. This does not change. Neither the format, nor the terms, nor anything. Nothing changes. What is addition is these three terms. If you look at the additions, this is equal to 0. This is equal to P by EI into A. This is equal to M naught by EI. This is equal to H by EI L minus X. If you try to find out the similarity, on the other side of the, or you can, if you say the right hand side of the equation, whatever is left, let me write it, whatever is left after P by EI, whatever is left after P by EI, here P by EI was multiplied by 0, so you got 0 here, plus 0. Here M naught by EI. So if you look at M naught by EI, then what is left? M naught by P. ऊपर P होता, तो ऊपर P लाने के लिए आपको क्या करना पड़ेगा? P से डिवाइड कर दो, एक से डिवाइड करो, मल्टीप्लाई करो, तो P by EI छोड़ के जितना भी टर्म है वो आपके सॉल्यूशन का आखिरी हिस्सा होगा. If you look at here, it is P by EI into A. So whatever is left after P by EI is the last part of the equation. Here if you see h by ei. So whatever is left is h by p l minus x. So h by p l minus x. So this is one similarity that you can draw for the last term, because this last term has to be written. Okay. Now, if you look at the boundary conditions, if you look at these boundary conditions here at x, here this is x. At x is equal to 0, y is 0. At x is equal to L, y is 0. So from here you can find out C1, C2, and finally get the solution. If you look at this, at x is equal to 0, you have y is equal to 0. The other is at x is equal to 0, also you have dy by dx is equal to 0, as you have seen in the case of a cantilever beam. If you see here, and the last one is at x is equal to L, you have y is equal to A. So utilizing these three boundary conditions, you can derive the crippling load. If you come to this portion, at x is equal to 0, you have y is equal to 0. At x is equal to 0, you have dy by dx is equal to 0. And at x is equal to L also, you have y is equal to 0. So utilizing these three boundary conditions, again you can find out the crippling load here. If you see here, the fourth case, what do you have? At x is equal to 0, y is 0. At x is equal to 0, you have dy by dx also equal to 0. And at x is equal to L, again you have y is equal to 0. Again you can utilize these three boundary conditions and calculate the final value. Okay. You have to take the first practical solution of the problem. So the first practical solution will never be 0. So you need to take the first practical solution of the equation, utilize it, and derive the crippling load. Now let us come to the solutions of this problem. If you look at the solutions of this problem, the crippling load, here P was found out to be, if you look at the solution of this problem, this P came out to be pi square EI by L square. The solution for this came out to be P is equal to pi square EI by 4L square. If you look at the solution of this problem, P came out to be 4 pi square EI by L square. And if you look at this last one, this came out to be P is equal to 2 pi square EI by L square. So these are the four solutions of the four columns. Now, if you again look at the solution, pi square EI by L square is everywhere. Pi square EI by L square is everywhere. Everywhere you will find this term pi square EI by L square. So what changes is the other parameters. So here comes the concept of equivalent length. So this is what is called as equivalent length. Now the equivalent length means it is length with respect to both sides hinged column. That means the first case. Equivalent length means that this is the length with respect to a both side hinged column. So if you look at this condition, equivalent length LE is equal to L. If you look at the second condition, equivalent length, this is equal to 2L. If you replace L by 2L, you get this equation. So equivalent length LE is equal to 2L. Okay. If you look at this term, equivalent length is equal to L by 2. And if you look at this equation, you have LE is equal to L by under root 2. So this is the concept of equivalent length. Equivalent length is the length which is said to be in comparison to a both end hinged column. So if you have a both end hinged column, then with respect to that, LE, in this case, it is LE is equal to L. If you look at here, LE is equal to 2L, because if you replace L by 2L, it becomes the condition for a one end fixed, other end free column. Okay. If you look at this condition, both ends are fixed. LE is equal to L by 2, because if you put L is equal to L by 2, then it is 4 pi square. It is pi square EI by L by 2 whole square. And here L gets replaced by L by root 2. So these are the conditions for, or this is the basic understanding for how will you remember equations, how will you solve them, how will you formulate them, and how will you use them. The only trick lies in the fourth case here, where you need to understand that you have a resistive moment acting here, and this is to be balanced by H imaginary force, and ultimately H is removed from the system. So this is one trick that we have played in, trick or justification that we have played around to find out or to solve the differential equation. Okay, so now the basic uh, equation for Euler's theory, if you talk about Euler's theory says that P, which is the crippling load, is given by pi square EI by LE square. This is the Euler's theory for crippling load. Now, depending upon the end conditions, depending upon the end conditions, he has said that for both end hinged, LE is equal to L, one end fixed, other free. He said LE is equal to 2L, one end, sorry, both end fixed, LE is equal to L by 2, and one end fixed, other hinged. We have LE is equal to L by root 2. So these are the four end conditions. So you need to remember these end conditions also. That if it is a both end hinged column, then LE will be replaced by L. If it is one end fixed, other end free, LE will be replaced by 2L. For one both end fixed, LE is replaced by L by 2. Okay, and for one end fixed and the other end hinge, LE gets replaced by L by root 2. So another understanding of this is if you have a both end hinged column, you have a certain amount of buckling. To produce the same amount of buckling for a one end fixed, other end free column, the length should be 2L. For one end fixed, other end free, it should be L by 2. And for one end fixed, other end hinge, it should be L by root 2. So Euler's theory is used to calculate the crippling load for a long column, only for a long column. Now, there are certain drawbacks in this Euler's equation, and that we will study in the next session.